When I was early adolescent, probably around age 12 or 13 years old, our family got a new dog. It's a puppy, it's a Dalmatian, and we named him Bullet. And I really enjoyed Bullet's company. Now, at the time, we lived in a neighborhood that didn't have fenced yards, and so all the neighborhood dogs just knew each other, and we played with each other. There's a park across the street, and we would hang out there, and our dogs would inevitably come with us. Well, about a year into having the dog, a very unfortunate situation happened where Bullet, it was a summertime day, and I remember so distinctly, Bullet was hit by a car. And I actually was in my yard and I watched how it happened. And Bullet was hit and thrown off to the side of the road. And I went over, and the car just kept on going. I went over to check on Bullet, and I knew that he was injured very badly, actually. And in fact, he wound up dying. And when I reached down to try to comfort my dog, he snapped at me and he tried to bite. And it really scared me. Now, here I am, 13 years old or so, and I didn't know what to do. Well, have you ever been around people who have been injured and you're trying to be a comforting source to them, or you're trying to figure out what's going on, and that person can snap at you and can come at you, and you know that something else is going on there, but maybe you just don't know what to do. When I was a kid trying to comfort an injured dog, the dog did what was natural and it was trying to protect itself. If you live with a narcissist, that's kind of the same way they operate with whenever there's some sort of a problem, whenever there's some sort of a strain or a difficulty or a differentness between you and them, they'll take that as if you're attacking the very core of their being, and they act or they respond like an injured animal or like a wounded soul. And so there can be a lot of anger, a lot of rage, a lot of harshness, and you may be thinking, what did I do here? Now, we have a term for this, and this is called a narcissistic injury. Now, before we get into this, I do want to make you aware that we do have some resources for you. So if you'll look beneath the video here, you'll notice a couple of links to, one of them is to a book that I've written. It's called When Pleasing You is Killing Me. And another link is to a book by a partner of mine, Laura Carranza, and her book is called Ugly Love, and she's writing from the perspective of one who's lived through narcissistic circumstances and has survived to talk about it. And then if you'd like to subscribe to our channel, we'd invite you to do so, that as more videos come along, then you can stay on top of this with you, and we'll be glad to share more as we go along. Now let's get back to this concept of narcissistic injury. When a narcissist feels like you don't think the same as them, or if you've thwarted them, or let's say that there's been some sort of a breakup in a relationship, or if they feel like you have said something that in their mind they take as an insult, or maybe if they're told, no, I'm not going to work with you, I'm not going to cooperate, or maybe if in some small way they've felt inconvenienced by you, then rather than looking at that in a healthy kind of way, they're going to think, why are you doing this to me? Why are you harming me in this way? Now, see, in healthy relationships, when we have those kind of scenarios that I just mentioned, what we would do is we would sit down with each other and say, well, we don't look at things exactly the same in this moment. Let me share with you my thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts. Let's put our minds together and see if we can have some sort of agreement, perhaps in the middle ground. Narcissists can't do that. If they feel like their domain is being threatened, if they feel like their legitimacy as a person is being challenged, or if their control is being taken away from them, then they go into that high injured mode, like, how dare you do this to me? How dare you treat me in this disrespectful manner? And they just come straight at you, and in doing so, the wound that they presume to feel reveals that there's an almost complete lack of coping skills on the inside for them to draw upon. And actually what they're doing is they're revealing their true self. You see, part of the narcissistic mindset or pattern of life is they have to have everything on the outside lined up exactly the way they say it needs to be so that they can feel good. which means their sense of well-being is externally based, not internally based, and they don't really have a deep coping mechanism to draw upon, and so that's why they have such a strong controlling nature. There's hardly anything on the inside where they can say to themselves, okay, I've got some circumstances that I don't like. Let me consult within myself who I want to be in this moment, and then we'll move on because I can handle this. The narcissist feeling injured is like that dog who's hurt. They snap and they'll come at you with a vengeance. And there's several different kinds of behaviors, and I want to run through some of these, and I want you to think, if you've been exposed to this, several kind of behaviors that they'll exhibit that indicate that they're feeling injured on the inside, but instead of dealing with their own internal stuff, they're just taking it out on you. The first thing is they go straight into attack mode. If you have, quote, caused their discomfort, they may rage at you. Watch out, because there can be all sorts of awful things said about you. They can curse at you. They can call you ugly names. They can speak in very harsh kinds of terms. And it's like, I'm really angry right now, and it's your job to make me stop being angry. But in the meantime, I'm going to tell you how awful of a human being you are, which then gives us a second whole set of behaviors that they'll do. And basically, there's a communication of blame and shame, and there's a character assassination. It's like nobody can be any good whatsoever if they have done something to make my life uncomfortable. And so in their feeling of injury, it's like, well, someone's got to be at fault here, and it's not going to be me, so I guess it's you. So they're going to say all sorts of things about how you just don't have good character. There's something defective about you, and you're impossible to get along with. So blaming and shaming behavior. And then as they go into that attack mode, and as they go into the blame and shame, then their behavior can become very punishing. Whether it's saying things about you to other people, or refusing to cooperate with things that they know you hold dear, or if there's a project that they know that you want them to complete, it's like, well, I'm not doing that anymore. And so whatever they can do to convey there's a price to pay, and boy, are you going to pay it, then the injured narcissist is going to do that. Many times when a narcissist has felt injured by you, then they're going to go into a deep withdrawal. They can develop a feeling of contempt, which then excuses them, if you will, to just pull back and think, I want to have nothing to do with you. Now, sometimes this withdrawal can come in the form of alcohol use. It's like, why do I need to even bother being with you? I'm just going to go hang out with my friend Jack, Jack Daniels, or Bud, Mr. Budweiser, and I'll just hang out with those kind of folks. And so they just ignore you and punish you through withdrawal and silence. And then another thing, I'm kind of mentioning it already, they can do some behind the scenes acting out. Sometimes the narcissist who's felt injured can think, I don't need to be around someone like you. So sometimes they'll go have an affair, or they may get involved in behaviors that they know you don't want. And it can be acting out of a simple nature, like I'm going to go play golf all day long. But in doing so, what they're doing is, it's like, that'll show you. Nobody tells me what to do. I'm the captain of my ship, and I'm the master of my destiny. And so I'm just going to do whatever I want. And if you don't like it, too bad. But anything that communicates, you have made me miserable, and I'm going to make you pay. Now, basically, whenever the narcissist has to contend with what they consider to be your injurious behavior towards them, what they're really saying is, I can't handle life as a normal person. And they have this sense of entitlement, like I'm different from everybody else, and I'm better, and I don't have to put up with this. But in fact, it's based on a non-reality. We all have things that disappoint us, and we all have moments where things aren't going to go our way. But that narcissist has such a tight need to control the agenda that life operates off of, that they've built what I call an external base of security. And you're part of it, by the way. And then when that external base doesn't play out the way they want, then internally there's just nothing there. So, knowing that the narcissist can feel injured, And of course, they're not going to call it that. They're just going to say, "You insult me." But notice, knowing that the narcissist is going to feel injured by your lack of coordination with their high demands, how are you going to respond to this? Now, the first thing I want to encourage on your end of the equation is to remind yourself you're not the crazy one in this situation. They're going to try to make you think you are. They're going to try to make you think how irresponsible you are. But you're not responsible for forcing that other person to somehow or another act right based on the fact that you do everything exactly according to their agenda. So, what you don't want to do is get caught into the battle or the discussion of who's right and who's wrong, or what you did and how that narcissist needs to help to have an understanding for you. You're going to lose that battle every single time. So the first thing I want to mention to you, and this is going to be under the category of easier said than done, when the narcissist blames you for their quote injury, try not to take it personally. It's not about you. If you were not on the scene and the narcissist were living or engaging with someone else, that person would be acting the exact same way towards that other person. You're a player on the stage with them, but you're not causing their injury. That the narcissist who has this real vitriolic reaction to your differentness is operating from a deep, deep root system of disconnect or hurt or pain or disappointment that they've never come to terms with from their deep history. And so it's not about you. Now, a second thing that I would encourage is, when possible, attempt to show some understanding towards their hurt or their pain. Now, you may have to wait until the scenario settles down, or until that emotionally drunk person sobers up, if we can call it that. But let it be known, I'm willing to hear what you have to say. And if you have some hurt, and if there's some things that I can do to show that I understand you, I'm willing to go there. And so don't just be completely discounting or invalidating. But then a third thing that we're going to say as you respond to this person, do establish your boundaries. Let it be known there's some things that I'm willing to work with you on. And there's some things that I can do that can perhaps make us have a more harmonious relationship. But then there are also some things that I'm not willing to do. And the first thing is, I'm not willing to give up my own self-respect, and I'm not going to let you just jump all over me and make me presumably take responsibility for everybody else here. I am going to have my sense of self-respect, and I can coordinate with you here. I won't coordinate with you there. And when we talk about having boundaries, it means that you have a good definition that you're operating on from your inside out, and you can share that with them, and perhaps in time they can learn to respond in a way that respects that. More often than not, the deeper they are into their narcissism, they can't do it, but at least you want to try to talk with them about it, but do so in such a way that says, I have a definition for me. And then finally, you have to assess the viability of the relationship entirely. If anything and everything you say is going to result in that person saying, "I can't believe you've done this to me," or they're constantly feeling injured, it's like, if me being in your life is creating this much misery, then what are we doing this for? And sometimes you have to just completely withdraw, or go to a very, very low level of interaction with them, and keep your interactions with each other relatively minimalistic. So let's close by saying that when the narcissist shows their hard anger at you, and they interpret your differentness as an injury to their inside, the one thing they're wanting to do is to make you responsible for whatever junk is happening on the inside, when in fact they're revealing that there's a deep sense of hurt that they've been carrying around, and they're trying to put it on you. But ultimately, it's their responsibility to be healthy in their own right, and it's just not fair for them to put it on you. You're responsible for you, I'm responsible for me, and that's going to be the beginning point for the way that we interact with each other.